Don't think so.
I don't know. I don't think, well, wager on somebody on one question. That Lindsay fixed this. Right. That Lindsay fixed it.
I'll give you an ask.
I don't know.
You know.
Right, yeah. Hey, it's not like part of the club. Yeah, right, yeah, right, right. I considered that. I'm not making out too very well.
Oh, no, before that, I said we're in open. So, you probably did something. How's your time going on that board?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. Her husband, well, both of them remember from Jim.
Oh.
And stuff. And. And.
Oh, really?
Anyway, long story short, we all sitting over and saying.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I'll see you
Oh.
The way it's so cross.
How are you?
Bruce couldn't make it tonight.
You
very.
Yeah.
And
Right there. Yes. Yes.
Right. No, we're going to get lost there.
It's just the zone, no, it's the.
I have two for that.
Yeah, right, I know, so. Or whatever, if you guys
See you all, nice to be out on a fine spring evening.
Thanks for coming out to the meeting. We'll begin as we do every meeting. We are back in open session. We were in closed session for a little while. We're back in open session. And we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll remain standing for a moment of silence in honor of the beginning of the Mental Health Awareness Month, which is in May. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. To the republic. Please be seated. We, there's, Lewis, who's here, who's our budget consultant, and we have Christy Errett, our CFO, who's joining us online. Also, Councilman Wide is joining us online, so, that makes it the group of us. This evening, we're going to start with the second reading of the Cap Bank ordinance. This is an ordinance that we need to do when we limit any increase in said budget up to 2.5% unless it's authorized by ordinance to increase it over 3.5% of the previous year's final appropriations. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the public hearing for this ordinance 09-2025 and ask if there's any public comment about this. For people who are making public comment, unless you have mobility issues, we do ask you to step to the lectern and state your name and address. So are there any questions about the Cap Bank ordinance? Seeing none, how about online?
No, nobody online.
Nobody online tonight.
Oh, no, nobody, we have 9 people online,
Oh.
but nobody
Okay.
raising their hands.
Well, welcome to all those who are online this evening. I'll make a motion to close the public comment hearing for this ordinance 09-2025. In a second, please.
Sorry.
All in favor of closing the public comment period, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. And unless there are any questions from the council on this, I would ask for motion to adopt ordinance 09-2025 on the second reading, granting final approval.
Oh, so,
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Now we are going to move on to the public hearing and adoption of the 2025 budget. The first thing to do will be to open the public hearing for the ordinance number 06-2025. So if anybody has any questions or wants to make any comments about the budget, this is the time to do it. Okay, anyone? I'll make a motion to close the public comment period for this ordinance.
So moved.
I'll second it. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay. And now we need to move on to an amendment to the introduced 2025 budget. I'm going to ask Christy, our CFO, to kind of explain that amendment. I will note a couple of things about this, that the state has already approved the proposed amendments to the budget and the budget as proposed. And these amendments do not change the tax rate that was established or that was set when we introduced the budget. So Christy, can you just walk us through why we need to make this amendment, and then I'll ask Cindy to read the resolution in full as is required by the state law.
Sure. Good evening, everybody. So when the budget was sent up to the state had recommended a couple changes. Basically, we're just moving things from one category to the other. For the code enforcement, which is what we pay for the through to the county. When the document was prepared, it was put in construction, so it just had to move $9,300 out of construction into code enforcement. It was just a clerical error when the budget document was prepared. And there was another adjustment for the group health insurance. Some of it goes outside a cap. There was an adjustment that was required by the state to just move the difference from in cap to out of cap. Again, no change, same exact amount. And the Frenchtown interlocal service agreement, We needed to put 5,000 for the zoning officer salary. Again, it was all included in the construction salary and wages for Frenchtown, so that was $5,000, and it was just moved from one line item to the other. And again, and on the revenue side, there was the uniform fire safety revenue that was put in the original budget. That service has been moved to the fire department. And again, that was $12,000 that was removed, and we just moved it into one of the pilots. So again, it was just kind of moving things from one category to another. It had no change on anything monetarily. Everything is still the same. It's the same tax increase, and that was what we introduced the budget. So bottom line stayed the same. It was just moving some things from one category to another.
Thank you for that explanation, Christie. Does the council have any questions for Christie? So now Cindy, the fun part. Cindy is required to read this entire proposed resolution into the record. So everybody sit back and
Yes, so relax.
relax.
Resolution number 87, 2025. A resolution to amend the 2025 budget of the city of Lambertville, county of Hunterdon, state of New Jersey. Whereas the local municipal budget for 2025 was approved on the 9th day of April 2025. And whereas the public hearing on said budget has been held as advertised, and whereas it is desired to amend the said approved budget, which did not require advertisement. Now therefore be it resolved by the mayor and council of the city of Lambertville, county of Hunterdon, that the following amendments to the approved budget for 2025 be made. In general revenues, we are moving from miscellaneous revenues, section A, local revenues. And the first category is interest on investments and deposits, and it's on sheet number 4, $15,000 to $3,900. Total section A, local revenue, $937,000 to $925,900. 3, miscellaneous revenues, section G, special items of general revenue anticipated with prior consent of the Director of Local Government Services, other special items. Uniform Fire Safety Act on sheet 10, from $12,000 to 0. Pilot, Econotech Development Company, sheet 10, $40,700 to $63,800. Total section G, special items of general revenue anticipated with prior written consent of the Director of Local Government Services, other special items, from $907,120 to $918,220. Number 3, miscellaneous revenues, total section A, local revenues, sheet 11, $937,000 to $925,900. Total section G, special items of general revenue anticipated with prior written consent of Director of Local Government Services, other special items, sheet 11, from $907,120 to $918,220. General appropriations, A, operations within caps, inspection and code enforcement, OE, sheet 15A, from 0 to 9,300. Group insurance plan for employees, sheet 15C, $760,451 to $774,291. Construction official, OE, sheet 16, $18,850 to $9,550. Total operation items 8A within caps, sheet 17A. $4,395,219 to $4,409,059. Total operations including contingent within caps, from $4,395,219 to $4,409,059. Other expenses including contingent, which is on 17A, from $2,030,154 to $2,043,994. H1, total general appropriations for municipal purposes within caps, sheet 19, $5,085,237 to $5,099,977. General appropriations. A, operations excluded from caps, group insurance plan for employees on sheet number 20, from $89,549 to $75,709. Total other operations excluded from caps, sheet 20A, $575,419 to $561,579. Shared service agreements, it's sheet 22. Borough of Frenchtown interlocal agreement, construction code official SW, sheet 22, from 53,000 to 48,000. Zonings SW, sheet 22, 0,000 to 5,000. Total operations excluded from cap, sheet 25, $755,902.98 to $742,062.98. Other expenses. H2, total general appropriations for municipal purposes. Oh, I'm sorry, wait a minute.
Yes.
Other expenses, $651,502.98 to $637,662.98. And then the next category is H-2, total general appropriation for municipal purposes excluded from caps, and that's in sheet 28. $2,735,094.85 to $2,721,254.85. Oh. General appropriations excluded from caps on sheet 29, $2,735,094.85 to $2,721,254.85. Summary of appropriations on sheet 30, H1, total appropriations for municipal purposes within caps, A, operations excluded from caps. So I think I just misread it. It should be H1, total appropriation for municipal purposes within caps. $5,085,237 to $5,099,077. The next line is A, operations excluded from caps. Other operations from $575,419 to $561,579. Total operations excluded from caps from $755,902.98 to $742,062.98. Be it further resolved that a certified copy of this resolution shall be forthwith in the office of the Director of Local Government Services for certification of the local municipal budget so amended. It is hereby certified that this is a true copy of the resolution amending the budget adopted by the City Council on the first day of May, 2025.
Thank you. On that, I would ask for a motion to adopt resolution 87-2025.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Now I would ask for a motion to approve the 2025 budget as amended. I'll make that motion. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Let's do a roll call. Lindsay.
Councilwoman Kaminsky,
Yes.
Councilman Lai,
Yes.
Councilman Stegman,
Yes.
Council President Lambert,
Yes.
Mayor No.
Yes. Thank you. It's a lot of numbers. It's a lot of work. I always have to thank the finance team. It's really it's a year-long process to get everything lined up. And Cindy Iggy, Christy, and Sue Acorn, and Michael, and Ryan, and I all work very hard. And Council President, excuse me, for forgetting that for a second. All work very hard throughout the year to present a budget which is a sound budget, and we're pleased to do so. So thank you for everybody's work, and also for the council for their input and what was introduced. And on that note, I'm going to excuse Mr. Drulis. And Christy, will you stay on for just a couple minutes until we get through the salary and wage resolution, just in case you have any questions?
Sure.
I'm sorry, are you doing?
We're doing page transportation. Michael, actually, this is not a bad idea. Why don't you stay for just the public
Glad to stay.
participation? in case
Sure.
there's anything comes up.
Sure.
There's no reason we should be taking Michael's arrows.
I don't think the budget ever sounded so good. They've been sending it everywhere. I was impressed.
I will now open the meeting up for the first of two public participation constituent concern sessions. Unless you have mobility issues, we ask you to step to the lectern. You have 3 minutes of uninterrupted time for comments and or questions. Lindsay will give you the 30-second warning and here we go.
Jeff Tittle, 33 Wilson Street. I just real quickly want to thank everybody in town for a great Shad Fest, especially the municipal employees and the police who kept everybody moving forward. 248 years ago, Tom Paine said these words, that these are the times that try men's souls. He said it coming through New Jersey at the time. And these are those times again, especially for Lambertville, because we are at a crossroads of our future as we speak right now. We are in the middle of a battle between maintaining the historic character of our town and moving into something else like Aspen or the Hamptons. There's a battle between mom and pop businesses and big hospitality corporations. There's a battle between having quiet neighborhoods and mega national builders coming in. There's a battle for clean water and safe drinking water. There's a battle to protect us from flooding. There's a battle to protect us from traffic and overdevelopment. But unfortunately, we are not meeting those challenges. We have contaminated drinking water in one section of town, and now other sections. We have a park that's closed because it's contaminated. We have major developments coming in that could change the complete way this town is, whether it's development on the hill or the development at Finkel's. We are at that point in time where we have to act, and we have to act on the side of the people. This body hired an attorney to deal with PFAS and a consultant, but he's there to protect the interests of the city government, not the people on the hill that are drinking contaminated water. He's there to protect the interests of the city without looking at why the hill is an inappropriate place for affordable housing and has to be taken off the list because of the PFAS. We have to get DEP in here to make that area an area of immediate environmental concern and get a spill act directive. And if we don't, the people up there are going to keep suffering. But yet on the agenda, there's talking about water on Cottage Hill, but we haven't talked about water for Conan Hill. This is something that is wrong in this community right now. As we sit here today, thinking about what the future is going to bring and what this town is going to look like. And if we don't act now to protect our community, we will lose our community. Finkel's was part of that soul of that community, of our community. That area could turn into some kind of theme park of luxury hotels and everything else. We're going from a place where people would stand online, no matter who they were, to go get help, to now having a luxury hotel and all the other amenities that go with it. 250 years ago, the people in this neighborhood, in this community, fought a hardscrabble grassroots battle against the British and the other invaders. Today, those invaders are the land speculators and the big development corporations and the hospitality corporations. Thank you.
Generally ask the audience or the members of the public not to clap during these meetings. I would appreciate that.
Paul Stevens, 39 Ford. Recently, we were successful in getting the speed limit changed on 29 to 25 miles an hour. Nobody's paying any attention to it. And I know this from, well, I shouldn't say nobody, because I've been on that road twice and slowed down to 25 and gotten people zooming past me and passing me on the right and everything. I'm just wondering, is there a plan to help educate people first before maybe putting in a hard enforcement there? Maybe we could get one of the radar signs that, you know, with the 25 mile an hour on it, let people know to draw their attention to it. The signs, they're there, but I must admit, we need to know they're there to really know that something's changed. So maybe we want to think about doing something to proactively let people know it's changed. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, Paul. I don't see any reason why we can't put the speed sign back up. It was there, at the corner of Swan and 165 for a period of time. Certainly we could put it back up just to highlight, have that sort of visual flashing, that reminder that people are exceeding the speed limit. Certainly the signage is, it feels, I myself have felt that the slowdown to 25 feels significant, and you're going slower than you're certainly used to, and it's a longer stretch, right? So, and I would also just say that I talked to Lieutenant Brown, that area between Swan Street and the Bridge Street light is notoriously difficult to enforce, right? It's a very crowded alleyway, and there's no space to kind of pull off. So the police have been, mindful of that, and they've been working, I think, a little farther south on 29 and being a visual presence there as we sort of settle in. But I'll talk to Lieutenant Brown and we'll see if we can put that speed sign back up for a period of time. Thank you. Anyone else in the room who would like to offer public comment?
Susan Rebello, and I'm from the Percent Court. And one of the things I wanted to say is I agree about the traffic thing. I think it would be really helpful just to make that more overt and more visible somehow, because cars are crazy. I mean, I can't believe how few cars really follow the speed limits. The other thing I wanted to say is I moved to Lambertville when I was 22, turning 67 this year. So I am a Lambertvillian, especially having just grown up in Hopewell. So I didn't go far. But I moved here because I love Lambertville. I moved here on purpose because of the kind of community it is, and the fact that it's just such a wonderful place, and it still is. I still love Lambertville. I think there's really very few places like it. I'm so concerned about the direction that Lambertville is going in. I'm not anti-progress. I'm not anti-smart growth. I am, really vehemently opposed to the development on the hill. I think it's not only the wrong place for Lambertville in terms of excess hazards, that traffic hazards, pedestrian hazards, flooding hazards. I also think it's absolutely the wrong place for affordable housing to segregate people up on that hill. People who might not have the means to have a car, people who might be walking, people who might be on bikes. I just think that it's wrong to segregate people and take them farther away from maybe the support systems that they would need. I think it's much better to try to have people be in town and be, one of the things about Lambertville was always lots of different kinds of people in every different neighborhood, different economic categories, old townies as opposed to newbies. I mean, it was so eclectic, and I'm just really worried that it's, first of all, becoming unaffordable, second of all, overdevelopment. I'm scared to death of a hotel and especially a wedding venue down by the canal. My God, those streets are narrow. We have our canal right there. I mean, just the whole thing is, I just thought that we had more control here over what that built. I'm really shocked by how difficult it seems to be able to stop things that we don't feel are, that we don't feel are right for the town. And that, I don't know the answers. I'm just here, I'm very distressed about it. And I'm just really hoping that things can still be done about this. So thank you very much for listening.
Sure. I would encourage you to come to the meeting on May 8th, which is being offered by the developer of, I should make sure that everybody understands this is not a city meeting. It'll be held in this hall. Lindsay will help get them set up with whatever they need for a slideshow. the members of the council boards may be present. It's not a city meeting, and I just want to make sure that everybody understands that. It's just designed to be kind of an informal conversation, an introduction to that,
Yeah, we're
project.
definitely gonna try to make that. I think that's important to see what's going on. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
What time is that meeting?
It's been noticed, I think it's at 7
Seven.
o'clock. And it's Thursday the 8th, is that right?
Yes.
May 8th.
Judy Gleason, 86 North Union Street. I want to just add to some of the points that were made by Jeff Tittle a little bit earlier. And I want to start by noting that there's enough people in this room who may not feel comfortable getting up and speaking in public, but there's enough people in this room who indicated some interest and agreement with the concerns that were raised. They didn't indicate it by coming up, but they indicated by clapping and showing support for the points that were made. The difficulty seems to continue to be, though, that comments at these meetings are frequently put out there, and we really actually don't know, what's next. I know we have an affordable housing group. I know we're trying to do stuff. I know we're engaged in litigation. I know all that stuff is going on, but what I don't know is where we are, how we got here after asking for something to be done for a year, and now here we are, until we get sued. And we still aren't saying that there's a willingness of this group to say, we don't want to build on that hill. We recognize the problems. I know you have closed sessions. I know you talk about stuff that we can't hear. I know that there's a lot of stuff we'll never know. But it's becoming very difficult for people in town to know what can they do. Many letters were written to the court. Many people are struggling against this whole issue. There's a lot of good points that are being made by the citizens, and some, I think, probably in your closed sessions, members of council. But this is tough. And I mean, Susan just raised some other issues about the next development thing. It really feels like we're getting further apart from council instead of closer together to be on the same page. And if we're not on the same page, tell us what we need to do to help get on the same page with the people who make the decisions. Because it's getting tough, and it's getting harder and harder, and we've been saying this for over a year. Again, we're running out of time, and we don't know what has to be done to stop the clock or to do something different. And I understand affordable housing, and I understand the issue of what we have to do, what the towns have to do. But we have a persuasive case that none of us are seeing being made. Maybe it's being made in closed sessions, but we're not seeing it being made in a way that lets the court know how strongly this town feels about having affordable housing, but not on the hill. So we really would appreciate some team effort with council, not two different. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Judy.
This is just probably a good place for me to remind everyone during public comment that because we're a party to the litigation and we received over 25 notices of tort claim, that in terms of contamination on certain private wells, because our city council has advised that we shouldn't comment on these matters due to ongoing or current litigation, which the city may be a party. So, we do have conversations in closed session, and there are a lot of things that we can't tell you right now. We've talked about this before, that there's, that everybody on this dais is concerned, and everybody on this dais wants what's best for the city. And we need to be mindful of all of our constituents, and that's a challenge, and it's a fine line that we have to walk. And it's not an easy one, and we sympathize and empathize with a lot of the problems that are happening in the city. And all I can tell you is that the council hears you, and that we are working diligently on many fronts to make the city a better place for people who are coming in, moving in, businesses who are opening, and so forth. I just wanted to say that before we move on to the next person.
Mayor, one thing though, I think that we can talk a little bit about some timeframes and some certainty about some of these matters, because that's important too, in terms of, we're asking the Department of Environmental Protection for not only a report from them about their PFAS progress to date, but a timeline of where this is going. So we understand when they're, okay, once we collect all this data, we look at it for X number of months, and then we make X determination, and then we go to the next step. To be able to give a kind of something a little bit more definitive about this process, because right now it seems like, it's well tested, it's confusing, so we've asked the department for that. They've committed to coming back with that, so we can share that and kind of put something around it that makes some sense. In terms of May 8th, that I think we should recirculate the notice that we had for the meeting, because it got buried in Lambertville Matters, and it's a really important topic for people to be coming out for. I may not be our meeting, but there is a lot of concern in the community that we are a community, we're not a restaurant hub. And a lot of people want to come and be heard on that. So I encourage people to come, and I think we should let people know about it far and wide to come. Perhaps in terms of the affordable housing case, that you will provide an update on that. And an update on when we are going to actually be able to air this round for a housing element, that how it will be heard and rolled out. I don't want to steal your thunder, but if we can't speak substantively about it, because I could go on forever and you could clap, but about it, but that the timeframes and the timing and some certainty, I think is a big help. And I know it helps me, so I think it would help everyone. Yeah.
Thanks for reminding me that, I did want to note that I'd spoken to the DEP Commissioner's Office this week and had a conversation with them about the kind of information they're providing, and I expect something to be sent to the city early next week, and I've got a follow-up conversation that I'll be having with the DEP tomorrow or Monday at the latest on this matter. And we'll continue to do our best to just update you on terms of the information, right? But there's a lot of things that, in terms of things that are, relevant to potential litigation, we're not able to talk about. And we'll have an update on affordable housing during the meeting. We've got some exciting news, I think, to share this evening. So I hope that you'll all kind of hang in there until we get to that. Next, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michelle Harris. I live at 26 Church Street. I'm also the owner of 46 York, which is relevant to the points I'm going to make tonight. I brought this matter to the attention of the city construction office last Friday and have continued in dialogue with them through this morning. Council members, the mayor have also been included in this traffic, and I want to bring it up tonight so that it becomes part of the public record. And that so the general public is aware of what's happening. Until now, the Lambertville Academy a play area has been a wood chip over dirt with no fixed permanent equipment. It's been open only during limited weekday daytime hours, only to Academy attendees, and always with multiple monitors present. Beginning in March of this year, the Academy began preparation for installation of a concrete foundation slab and multiple large permanent pieces of playground equipment. If you've driven down York Street, you can see that those were assembled this week. The Academy will host a ribbon cutting and open its facility to the public as of this Saturday, May 3rd. Open hours will be weekdays after 6 p.m. and undefined hours on weekends. As early as August 2024, messaging around this project began via email from the Academy to its patrons. There have been multiple announcements regarding the planned public access on Facebook. Volunteers were solicited and advertisements were made regarding the opening. And yet, neither the Academy, Fisherman's Mark, St. Andrew's Episcopal Church, nor the Where and Angels Play Foundation, which are all parties responsible for various aspects of the project, submitted any permit applications for this construction and significant expansion of use to city construction officials, to the zoning board, to the planning board, or to the DNR Canal Commission. Since no documentation was submitted, it's unknown what measures might be needed to address this opportunity on a residential street, event requirements, proper slope and drain installation, lighting, sound containment, security equipment, and other matters that are routinely reviewed by construction officials, the planning board, the zoning board, or some combination thereof. So the nature and scope of this construction, plus the lack of any proactive attempt to actually file permits, is enormously troubling and is a different standard than the rest of us are held to. I did bring this to the attention of the, thank you, Cindy. I did bring this to the attention of the construction office. It was promptly responded to, and I do appreciate that. Unfortunately, I did ask for a temporary stop work order so that the city could give it proper consideration for safety and other reasons, and was told that there is no applicable vehicle for stopping construction. Although we are all aware of smaller projects that have been stopped for lesser issues in the past temporarily to give time for consideration. So I wanted to bring this to the public's attention. Retroactive applications, I have been told that retroactive applications will be required for zoning for impervious surfaces, construction slab, and the DNR commission, but that's going to be allowed retroactively, and as far as I'm aware, the playground will open without permits or inspections this Saturday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The only thing I'll say about that is that it is an issue that's being worked through by the construction code official. Council has been copied on all of the emails. And the construction code official does have legal jurisdiction to make these decisions. I've reviewed everything. I don't offer any input. It's not my place to, nor is it the place of the governing body or really anybody. The construction code official has the authority to make these decisions based on all the local zoning and construction code ordinances. So if anybody's interested, certainly the information can all be available through HOPROP if anybody has any questions. Please.
Good evening, John Towns, Hancock Street. Just wanted to touch base real quick. Was anyone in the city able to contact the county regarding the undocumented, apparently, dump up on Coryell and Grant? Second question. The developer for the Finkel site, what type of money are they going to be required to put into the low-income housing fund, because they're not building housing? We're building a commercial venue that does not apply to that. I don't know if our current setup is collecting cash like that. Should be, in my opinion. Again, still, I know you can't say anything. Disappointed that 90 people, 91 people, how many people turned in letters? 91 people. Residents on the Hill had to be the ones to deliver letters to the court that the city didn't address with the court, because I'm fairly certain if KHOF had been aware, they would have beat feet or at least dialed back. So those are my questions or points to ponder. Thank you.
Thank you. So again, we're not going to make any kind of comment on anything that's happening with KHOF or contamination on the Hill at this time. In regards to the question about development on Coryell Street, it's true, if it's a commercial development, they will not be required to pay into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. That's just for residential development. And that's the way the code is set up. Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Denise Brown-Taney. I live at 59 Douglas Street, Lambertville, on Cottage Hill. And I am here tonight because I certainly have a lot of respect for what's unfortunately happening on Funnel Hill. But I'm concerned that we are sitting on a ticking time bomb on Cottage Hill. A number of our residents have tested positive for PFAS. We have heard that there's going to be testing of 20 homes on our hill, but we don't know how to get on that list. We don't know what the answers are, but obviously it's something that we're all concerned about. Living in a home that was built in 1874 with a very shallow well. We had our water tested last year, but we weren't aware of PFAS, so we know we have a lot of mineral content, but we don't know what else is in there yet. We know it's expensive to have it done. There are a lot of questions with regard to Veolia, and I just wanted to make everyone aware that we too are concerned. Seems that Plainville is the victim of our own successes, and we don't want to get lost in the shuffle. We want to know what's best for ourselves and people who may one day buy our homes. How do we get in the loop?
Anything else, Denise? Okay, thank you. As I explained, I think at a previous meeting, maybe a couple of meetings, the DEP has identified 20 properties on Cottage Hill that they will be testing. And letters, I will find out. I'll ask again tomorrow when those letters are going out. It was my understanding a few weeks ago that the letters were imminently going out, so that people on Cottage Hill who were chosen to have well testing should be notified. If they haven't been notified already, they should be notified very soon. So there is testing that's the DEP is going to be doing, and as I said at the last, also at the last meeting, anybody who has well results that they want to share would be greatly appreciated. We've been sending all of the results, both positive and negative, to both the county and the DEP as part of the database that they will use to help identify the source of contamination. They haven't committed to a source investigation on Cottage Hill. We haven't seen the same level of contamination exceedances on Cottage Hill, and that may be just because fewer people have tested yet. I don't know. So we will have a conversation tonight. We'll begin to have a conversation that started, I think, in 2020 about the possibility of public water on Cottage Hill. So we'll get to that in a little bit. Next, please.
Lisa Tully from Rock Creek Woods. I have something a little bit more mundane, sorry. But on Quarry Street, if you're going down Quarry Street, on the left-hand side, all the tree trunks, are they gonna be cleaned up? I came just trying to come home the other day and one had fallen into the roadway, and luckily a couple of nice gentlemen, removed it. But so I don't know what the procedure is, put in a work order, call Public Works, but you could just clean that up.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, another resident talked to me last week about that, and I haven't gotten over to Quarry Street with to take a look at it. Quarry's that section of Quarry Street where you have a very steep rock facing has always been problematic. We did buy at auction last year a boom mower, so we'll be able to keep that area cleaner generally. But I need to take a look at it and make an assessment to see whether it's something that our crew can do or something that we need to farm out to arborists. It can be a dangerous slope on which to work. I mean, it's not really even a slope. I mean, it's very, very steep. So, our past practice there has been a little bit to kind of clear away what we can as it comes down. But proactively, there are concerns with kind of proactively removing trees that look like or that may even be dead. To some degree, they are still holding the ground in place, even if they are dead. So, they're often advised by the engineer that in certain circumstances, it's better to leave a tree in place because it's actually maintaining some erosion control. So it's just a question of sort of me getting up there and having a conversation with the director of the Department of Public Works, and I can commit to doing that on Monday. We have a meeting on Monday, so I'll get up there and take a look at it. But I know it's concerning, and I've talked to people in Rock Creek Woods who always are mindful of pulling out Rock Creek Woods and having that concern. So thanks for bringing it up, because it's slipped off my to-do list. Now I'm writing it down right now. Anyone else in the room? Anyone online? Okay, we have a motion to close the public comment period.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Michael, I hope you learned something about, stuff that wasn't budgetary.
It's nice to be here. Thank you,
Thank,
Mayor.
thank you for coming, I appreciate it. Is, resolution number 88-2025. This is a resolution to establish the 2025 salary and wages for employee, officials and employees of the city of Lambertville. So this we do every year, and just a couple of points that may interest the community. This includes everybody who is an active employee at the start of the year. So we've had several employees leave, but they're still on the resolution because they were active employees as of January 1st. And there are several categories here where part of someone's salary doesn't come out of the general operating budget. For example, the housing liaisons, we have 2 housing liaisons. Part of their salary, there's the stipend for that comes out of the Affordable Housing Trust. And I'll just also explain that our stormwater coordinator, her salary is coming out of the stormwater grant that we received a couple of years ago for our work in getting the MS4 Tier A permit underway. So that's just a couple of things about the salary and wages here. Are there any questions from the council on the salary and wage resolution? Okay. Hearing none, I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 88-2025. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carried unanimously. Christy, thank you for hanging in there. I appreciate it, and enjoy your evening, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah.
She muted. Okay. So the first couple of things, I'm going to leave the public water connection on Cottage Hill for last. The other discussion items are really almost more announcements, and it'll just take me a few minutes to work through. In terms of our affordable housing update, the City Council, as well as the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, continues to work toward our housing element and fair share plan, which is due at the end of June. The planning board will hear the plan, we'll present the plan on the first meeting in June. The City Council will offer its approval at the second City Council meeting in June. And we hope that we plan on and sort of introducing it generally at the next council meeting for people who may be interested in some of those components. And those components primarily, we are required to have 39 units of unmet need in our 4th round. We'll keep this very simple and short. At the moment, we're only responsible for accounting for 25% of those in terms of our plan. So in order to get that number, which is 10, we have a couple of units that we're carrying over, 3 units that we're carrying that we're allowed to carry over from the Heritage apartment building. We have now deed restricted the library apartment, so that will be number 4. And we are currently working on an overlay ordinance, or overlay on a particular property that will give us the remaining 6. So we'll have some more information on that coming up at the next meeting. But there's a lot of work happening to meet these deadlines and to make sure that we're meeting our obligation for the 4th round. A couple of other things in regards to housing, affordable housing. We are also actively working through a memorandum, a draft memorandum of understanding with Habitat for Humanity. The council discussed that memorandum this evening in closed session. We hope to be able to bring this into the public for adoption at the May 15th meeting. That will allow us to move forward with Habitat for Humanity to provide 6 owner fee simple houses on the Holton Park. So stay tuned. I think that we're excited about that work, and we should have more information about that, and hopefully a resolution at the next meeting. And last, I have an announcement about the village apartments. I've been in contact for the last few weeks with the owner of the village apartments and his representative, as well as the proposed developer for that site. I learned last week that a contract has been signed with the developer and also a contract has been signed with the builder. The city expects to receive 2 plans sometime next week from the developer. And those we will consider, the city will consider them under the redevelopment law, so the council will consider them in closed session, in part because they will probably, they're going to be asking for a payment in lieu of taxes. So that's, that will come directly to the council. And we'll keep you advised of our progress on that. They're, I think, fairly eager to move forward, and, you know, the delay, I don't want to call it a delay, but the reason why, you know, it was really at a standstill. I felt like it was at a standstill since the summer was there was a previous developer in contract, and that contract is now expired, or the relationship has changed, and there's a new developer with a contract, and it's been given the green light to go ahead and submit 2 plans to the city. So I hope that those will be coming next week. So we will keep everybody advised of that progress. So some movement here, which is good. We're all pleased to see this happen. I wanted to talk just about the capital bond ordinance. So every year we put forward a capital bond ordinance to pay for things that we simply don't have the money to pay for out of pocket. Things like this year, I'm just going to go through the list quickly. There's 1 or 2 questions I just want to have with the council and get their feeling on before moving forward with introducing them or including them in the bond ordinance. But just to give you an idea of what we're talking about, we're talking about some improvements to the police station that are the requirements by the Department of Corrections. Used to be about $12,000. Includes surveillance cameras monitoring prisoners, panic alarms, and some changes to the salary board processing. We're also going to look at painting of the police station this year. Last time it was painted was, I think I mentioned in Landfill Matters, about 15 years ago by Lieutenant Brown's father. There's a little bit of exterior lighting that needs to be done there. We also need to pay for body worn cameras, and that will be a $60,000 cost to the city. We will need to purchase a new pickup truck for the DPW this year. We do need to buy a new recycling truck, which is estimated at about $350,000. The current recycling truck is from 2009, and which was the same age as the trash truck that we replaced last year. So these trucks are take a hard beating in the city, and then stuff when they on its last legs. Also, we're budgeting $75,000 for improvements to the Justice Center to meet all the ADA requirements for audio and video and visual. So that's obviously something that we've talked about with many residents over the last year, and Cindy's gotten some estimates for that, and we'll look forward to moving that forward. A couple of other things, that we are going to be required to do mapping of our stormwater system. So as everybody knows, city did complete mapping of all the inlets and outfalls. We actually have to map all the pipes. So this is a very labor intensive process that the DPW will undertake, but we do need help with translating all that data to a program of GIS mapping that will be probably submitted by our engineers. So there will be a capital project to do all the mapping, which is required by the state to be completed by the end of this year. Also required by the state, MS4 Tier A permit is retrofitting all of our storm drains. We have about 276 individual storm drains need to be retrofitted. This cost could be anywhere between $500 to $1,000 each. So we're looking at significant investment in that as well. I will have all the numbers. I just wanted to come throw this out here. I'll have all the numbers probably in the next week or two. I'm still getting some things from different places that I need to move forward. The last 2 things I wanted to just talk about, 3 things, is the Historic Preservation Commission is looking for $10,000 to create a large format architectural book of some of the most significant, architectural sites and components in Lambertville. They'll have a copy of kind of a book for us to look at, prototype, probably in the next week or so. I'd like the council to see that. But I think it looks like the idea is here that they would print a bunch and they would sell them. I saw one version of it several years ago. It's quite beautiful. So unless the council has any concerns, I'd like to move forward with that. And then let's see. The only other thing I would like the council to consider is a sum of money, probably about $40,000, to replace trees throughout the central business district. There's a lot of stumps in the central business district. I'd like to grind them all out and plant trees. And estimate that to be about $40,000. So those are kind of the things that we're looking at including this year in our capital budget. I met with Lieutenant Brown and also Lester Myers. We don't foresee doing any road projects in the next year or two. We've been pretty heavy on road projects in the last 4 years. The streets are in pretty good condition overall. We've made an assessment and feel like we can skip a year, maybe even 2 of major road work. We do have some funds left in various street bond ordinances, so we may be able to do some smaller projects around town to improve some of the streets or curbing in some places. So we are mindful that we've had a lot of capital expenses in the last couple of years. Certainly the library is top of mind. Also equipment at the Department of Public Works. So we're keeping an eye on it, and this would be probably the last year in which we have this level of bonding. I don't anticipate this kind of bonding in the next couple of years. We've made a lot of progress in terms of doing what we need to do in terms of our capital needs. So does the council have any questions or concerns about either the architectural book or the tree planting amount?
I have just a quick question about the village apartments. When do you foresee the public getting this information to the public for review? Is there a time frame, or is it just we're going to wait for the 2 plans that you mentioned and then take some type of action with the developer about and our professionals how it's going to proceed? But at what point do you think? And I won't hold you to it, but at what point?
Because I'm not going to give you a date.
No dates. Now that we've been public about that project moving forward, at what point will it be presented? Do you think to the public for comment?
Well, so we've talked a little bit about the plans that we think are going to be submitted, and we're not going to share the details of those because it's not appropriate at this moment. But I think depending on how the council is able to sort of look at the plans and decide, if there's one over the other that they prefer, that we prefer, we could hopefully turn it around, I think, fairly quickly. Yeah, I mean, I hesitate, we've got a couple of busy months and I'm not trying to set the bar low here for expectations, but then there's the summer, we just have 1 meeting in the summer. So, is it possible that we could be talking about this as early as the June meeting? Possibly, but I think it's probably more likely the July meeting, but we'll see.
So it's for the next few months.
Yeah, it's certainly not going to take, this process is certainly not going to unfold in any way that's going to have an impact on our 4th round fair share, housing element and fair share plan. But it's good news to be able to go back to the court.
Perhaps would be a good time to report in on the case management conference from the court, because we would be, they set up they will set up a briefing schedule.
Yep.
So I don't know
Absolutely.
if you want to share that, because because the schedule that gets laid out is then how some of these things fold in to our reports and the case that we present back in the matter.
Absolutely. We'll keep both the city attorney and Kelly Grant, the housing attorney.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm looking for is to tell the public that if you want to describe to the public what happened in the court this week, since everyone is aware that there was a case management conference and that basically kind of the outline that we got was that the judge, there were no dates set out for briefing, but that he was going to be setting up a schedule for oral argument. So it was a case management conference, not no case was presented. But we are still kind of waiting for, this schedule to evolve. So kind of tread in water.
Yeah, I've no issue reading the attorney's very short email, and
Right,
just
go
as a matter of information. Mayor, we had a conference with Judge Ballard yesterday regarding the balance of Namine's motion. You'll recall that the motion to intervene was granted, but Judge Menon deferred decision on whether the city should be stripped of immunity. Judge Ballard indicated that he will be scheduling oral arguments on that issue in the coming weeks since it remains outstanding. I will let you know when we have a date for the hearing. Any questions, please reach out to me, Kelly. So, thank you. So getting back to the question of the capital, were there any concerns with adding in those two figures, the 10,000 or the 40,000? They are to some degree discretionary, I think, as opposed to everything else, which is really necessary. Councilman Lyons, do you have any thoughts on that you want to share?
I think I'm in favor of it.
Yeah, I just, it's great that we have, is it the commission, the historic commission has these resources?
Mhm.
So I would, hope that, I would really ask them to, if they could call out the pictures of Coriel Street and the Strand and some, this area to share with us in the community. Especially since we're going to be there, we're going to have a presentation in May about, someone who's bought a lot of those properties and some things that, they think they'd like to do with it, but we are also concerned about the historic integrity of the area. And it, just these resources are just, really going to be useful and will be useful to the commission because the commission will also be taking a look at all this. So we really want to see, because the Strand there's a great picture on this Historic Society website of the Strand. The little Charlie Chaplin cut out in front of it and, a Mary Pickford poster, but what this movie theater looked like when it was operating, is the street was very different. And I know Councilman Speckman found this terrific picture of, it was Finkel's before it was Finkel's of the coal yard there. And I could see my neighbor's porch there, Chris. But great, look at important stuff. So for us to all know and kind of savor as we go into this, next evaluation.
Sure, so I will ask Lisa Easton, the chair, if she has any photographs that she can share. Certainly there are photographs in City Hall as part of the DNR Canal Commission survey of those buildings. They're just like mimeographed on black and white, on paper, but they're nice resources. And, there may be some information at the county house as well. So I've got a note of that. Okay, it sounds like we're okay with the capital bond ordinance. I'll have more information about that coming up. And then I think this will probably be a fairly short conversation as well. The council has had a chance to look at the proposed improvements in the CBD. I would note that of the two projects, which are very similar, we're talking about some improvements into the parking lot area on North Union Street, taking those planters, which are very badly cracked and broken, and just doing some work there to make that more inviting space with some seating and planters and flowers and that kind of thing. The difference between the two plans really was one of there was one that had a bike rack and the other one had more of a small flower garden. So the one with the small flower garden was less expensive and falls within what we still have left in the bond ordinance. So it's at the end of the day, it's unless we bonded more and waited, it's really probably a fairly straightforward decision. But I just wanted to see if the council had any concerns about moving forward with that.
No. Was there something for the area by the bank where it's only the Martinez lot?
Only the lot there.
Martinez
Yeah.
lot. So the one thing people always ask me about, so I just don't know if anybody else is, the condition of the tree at the bank.
It's-
And the tree is not our tree?
It's,
So which is why it is in that weird lollipop thing that it, yeah, but
I was
that
gonna
is
mention
not
that.
our area, yeah,
no,
cause
we're
it's
gonna cut
really.
down, I wanna cut down that tree instead.
Right,
And I'm gonna direct
Right.
Lester to cut it down, and I would like another tree planted there, and we need to check in with Bill about whether we can do that, but the tree in its current form is
That's so
coming down.
great.
I'm happy to go out on a big political limb there and say, we're cutting down that dead tree, but we are gonna cut that down. So thank you for giving me.
right, that's a
Okay.
great, yeah.
What's that? Well, you go take a look at it.
Yeah,
and it's,
Yeah, yeah, well, as part of that thing though, we've gotta get our holiday act together there. It was together until, they manhandled that tree and now we're kind of
Yeah.
so this year I would commit to, right, we'll commit, well, I don't know, I don't want to say that, but, to having our act together, well, at least we'll have a new tree planted, but yeah, it's
Well,
like.
we do have some type of an easement, and I don't know what that allows us to do.
Right, to talk about the attorney, but we're cutting down the tree regardless.
Right,
Well, and just to be honest, I mean, Wells Fargo or Wachovia Bank, who actually owns it, has not been very community friendly. Which is why the holiday tree lighting was what it was and probably will continue to be. They don't want us to use their parking,
yeah.
which is, we kind of expanded out. But anyway.
Okay, we like that.
We used to be
Yes,
BFFs.
thanks for mentioning that, because I was
About
wanting
what
to say.
the hell.
we're cutting down the
But, yeah.
tree,
But yeah, so that's the answer, so.
The answer is the tree's getting cut down.
I think
Yeah,
that's the tree's
right,
gonna
I
cut.
know,
And then we'll see.
it's like Charlie Brown.
All right, so I think we're all squared away on that. I'm gonna move forward with putting that out to bid. So I'm coordinating that with Cindy possibly, or Michael, Burns. In the coming week.
Well, if it's just the tree that's coming down, we don't have to. buy it.
No, I'm talking about the CBD improvements.
Got it.
That kind, yeah. All right, so let's move on to a conversation about public water connection on Cottage Hill. So I'm gonna allow a little bit of informality here. So if there are residents on Cottage Hill who want a minute or two to talk at some point, I think that's welcome. And I may ask Cindy to just make sure that I got the history right here. So certainly I've heard from residents on Cottage Hill over the years about issues with water quantity, water quality, and depth of wells, and concerns. And certainly there was concern expressed some years ago when the subdivision was done at Highland and Boozer, and water was brought down for that. And that's all on record, and that was a good decision, I think. And so I think it was in 2020, sometime in COVID days, or right before COVID, that the city began to have a conversation with some residents, and I know that Denise was instrumental, Denise Van Brown was instrumental in kind of talking to some of the neighbors and bringing that question forward. So I circulated, and if anybody wants this, I'm also happy just to put it up online, but I circulated it to anybody who asked for it. The documents that were generated back then were by then Suez, breaking Cottage Hill into quadrants, and providing some estimates about what it would cost to bring in water mains to the various quadrants that were designated for, whatever reason, in terms of efficiency of getting the water mains. And some corresponding costs were estimated. In my recent conversation with Veolia about this, they said that they're certainly still happy to have the conversation. They anticipate that, these estimates are probably would need to be increased by 30 to 35% per household. And the way this worked was that, the streets were identified, the water main length was identified, and then the cost per home was identified. The cost per home was identified depending on how many homes actually, wanted to participate. So if 100% of the homes in a given quadrant participated, the cost would be lower. For example, I'll just say Lincoln Avenue, there are 39 homes. The water main length was identified as 2,425 feet. Everybody participated. The cost in 2020 would have been about just under $22,000. 75% participated, it would be about 29,000 per household. So the fewer households, the greater the cost. These costs that were estimated at the time did not include capping the responsibility for capping individual wells or paying for service lines, which the property owners would also need to do. This was just for weighing, doing the water mains. So, there's been some interest, obviously, and I'm happy to have a general conversation about this. I don't know how quickly this can go anywhere or where it goes, and I'm gonna need some help from residents and from council members and from professionals if we want to move this conversation forward. I think in terms of first steps, it would be really important for the city to understand how many residents on College Hill are interested in looking at this seriously, and that would give us a better sense of kind of how to proceed and what cost we might be looking at. So,
is Veola going to update these figures for the city?
they will, yeah, certainly they will. I mean, this is a fairly recent thing, and we just pulled these out as an example. I'm sure that they could certainly update the numbers a little bit. And the numbers also depend on how the water main is linked, right? So as everybody knows, we just repaid most of the streets up there since 2021, some of which were in terrible condition. So, the water mains can be laid in the right of way alongside the streets, or we can dig up the streets, and obviously all that plays into the cost of the water. So, I have no experience with this kind of thing, obviously, and it's a complicated question, and it's a complicated process, and I really think that it would be helpful to have an understanding from the residents. And so maybe this is a little bit of a thing. Give me just a second, Denise, where we get 2 or 3 residents on College Hill who are willing to, drop off letters and sort of, set up a meeting, see how many people we get in the room who want to have a broader conversation about this. So I think that would be really the first step. And I'm happy to, quite informally, if anybody has a question from College Hill or wants to share something, please, just stand up and say, you don't have to come all the way up.
That's right. I'm up.
Okay. Just say your name and
Tom Egan, Douglas Street, on Cottage Hill. I'll volunteer myself right now to help participate. I think it goes well beyond just, who's interested and how we divide up a number. I think because there's any number of variables here in terms of who's interested now, what happens if they're interested later, right? There's a ton of different questions we have to answer. And I really think we owe it to the residents, the entire city to get to the end state of what the different options are, especially given the context of everything with the contamination of wells. So I'm happy to volunteer to pitch in.
that's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
The irony here is not lost on me that we've got one neighborhood where we've had this conversation, several years ago. And there's no infrastructure whatsoever anywhere close to Colorado Hill in terms of bringing public water. So, in a perfect world, everybody would be on public water here. But, these are huge questions. And I think for myself, I'm willing to engage and ask these questions in the long term, because, we're not just concerned about today, but we're concerned about as somebody said, our property values in the future and who's going to live here and all of that, right? So, a modest house, is going to be, any house is going to be worth more if it's got reliable water, right? So, and infrastructure. So I don't want to, not address, the other areas of the city, but we're just going to start here because we already have a little bit of information. And we already have a little bit of some people who are interested in this, and we already have to some degree the infrastructure nearby. So it's a question that I think lends itself to kind of more immediate conversation. Does anybody else?
Denise had some
Yeah.
comments.
Well, I just did want to note that when Karen and I canvassed our neighborhood, there were about 24 responses that, yes, people wanted to learn more about it, and that we did not talk to all the residents, and we didn't use the mailboxes, we slipped the notice under the format, or when we had the opportunity to talk to someone, we certainly did, so there's, I can't tell you how many homes there are. About 90 homes on the hill, but, I think about a quarter of the people at this point are interested in certainly learning about Veolia and again, the water testing and everything that's involved, so I would be happy to continue to work on that.
Great. When you did that, when we talked about this back in 2020, was there a letter that was the city
Yeah,
letter?
yes, so it started in 2020, we were hot and heavy and ready right when Ida hit. And that's when it kind of stalemated, and then we had another meeting scheduled, and I can't remember why, but it had to be canceled. But I think that the strength that we have is to have a meeting that's also, using Zoom, so that people who have children can participate as well. But with this would be with Veolia, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, the young lady who is handling this portion of it, I think is due back this next week. She was on vacation. So, I did reach out to her and I'd be happy to work with Lindsay and the neighbors to try and schedule something.
Yeah, I think let's get a letter written and probably best just to schedule something. Give people 6 weeks notice or whatever, and whoever shows up, shows up. And ideally it would be before people start going on vacation in the summer, so late June, possibly.
And this is with Veolia.
I have to call Veolia and make sure that they are willing to engage, yeah. I
Yeah, no,
think
they were, they
Yeah,
were. And
But,
when I spoke to Yvonne,
Yeah.
and she directed me to this person, but she's out on vacation.
Quick question, when the gas company decided to run lines up on the hill, and then made them, well, they're still doing it, and connected people up as an alternate fuel than electric or propane. It was my understanding that the Elizabethtown Gas put the trunk lines in at no cost to the resident, but you would pay for from the street into your house. And they also made it, at that time, they also offered no interest loans to homeowners who wanted to do this. So, but my question is whether the utility is set up in a way where they would be required to put the trunk lines in at no cost to the public, and then the public would pay from the street into their house.
yeah.
So I don't know who regulates that for the state. Is it the DPU?
Yeah, it is a BPU, and I'm not gonna remember this, and Cindy will scratch this out a little bit, but, there's a formula that the water company has to, through this infrastructure installation, there's.
Same thing with the gas company, because we've been trying to get gas on Music Mountain for years, but they can't get enough people interested. If they don't meet their quota, then
Right,
they don't do it.
Yeah.
So then, if you want it, let's say I was building a house and I wanted it, I would have to pay to run that, because I would be the single house.
But the water company doesn't do it.
The water company is the same way.
right,
If they get enough people participating, it decreases the amount that you pay.
Right, but I'm confused, because I thought you said, Mayor, that there would be costs associated with running the mains.
these are the costs associated with running the mains. And then there are
Who
additional.
pays for that?
The
Veolia
residents.
pays.
No, the residents.
Yeah, the residents,
The
which is
residents, this is-
different than what Councilman Stegman was.
Correct, but there's a formula, and I can get some information on this.
I thought I would bring it up as a
Right.
discussion.
Yeah, no, there's a formula that they have
Yeah,
to.
something to be considered, right, to think about, talk about.
Yeah, and then there's also additional costs when you have water than when you're just doing gas, because you have to cap your well, and there's a lot you have to do. You have to do that POTUS, when you're putting in a system for the water to, come to your house, and in some instances, if the water is downstream of your house are too low, you have to pump it up. I mean, there's a lot that goes into water that doesn't go into gas.
Yeah, I had always heard, and this was
There's a line in there.
quite a few years, quite a few decades ago, that we were up too high and too close to the reservoir because it was gravity there. But obviously they solved that issue with Woodcrest.
All right, so yes, please.
I was just curious if the city is looking at all into, there is spill funding from the spill fund that is available to municipalities. I don't know the greater details around all of that, but if enough, I don't know if you are required to have an area of concern established or a neighborhood, or if the city is looking at any other alternate funding to pay for the main lines so the residents aren't flooded with extraordinary bill.
We haven't looked at any funding mechanisms yet for any public water in any part of the city. To your question about the spill fund, we have had some conversations I'm not going to get into at the council level about the spill fund and the confidential relationship with the city. So, but it's premature for me to talk about that, but it's a good question, and I appreciate hearing it because it's something that has recently come up. Yeah. Are there any other comments from anybody on Cottage Hill? So it sounds like we're going to work on drafting a letter that a couple of 2 or 3 volunteers will deliver to houses on Cottage Hill in regards to a meeting that we'll set up, let's say sometime in June, probably late June. We'll look at the calendar, do our best to make sure that it's got enough advance notice and that there's a mechanism for people who can't come for whatever reason, that they are able to show their interest in being a part of the conversation. Right? So we don't want anybody to miss out just because they can't make a meeting. So we'll put some kind of mechanism there as well. Okay. Thank you. Announcements here. The mobile NBC unit will be at the Justice Center on Friday, May 23rd for real IDs. Appointment slots open on May 9th at 9 a.m. If you're interested in getting the real ID, you should probably be looking at the appointment slots on May 9th at 9 a.m. They fill very quickly and a nice service. So I hope people will take advantage of it as they did last time. Sparkle Week is now going on. Zones 3 and 4, your Sparkle pickup will be next Thursday and Friday. Zones 1 and 2, your pickup will be May 13th and 14th. Pride Parade is Saturday, May 17th. Kicks off at 11 o'clock, I think, right? I don't see it here.
10:30 is it?
10:30.
Oh, we have to meet at 10:30.
Yeah, so anyway, hopefully you'll show up for that. Memorial Day Parade steps off at 9 a.m. on Memorial Day, one of North Union and Cherry Streets. We're going to open the meeting up to the second public participation period. So same rules as before. If you'd like to step up to the lectern, please do so. State your name and address, and you have 3 minutes uninterrupted time.
Jeff Tittle, 33 Wilson Street. I want to make sure I didn't misunderstand, but we don't have a fund for commercial to pay into the affordable housing. We didn't set up that program.
I believe that's, is that correct, Cindy? My mistake on that? I think it's, is it just residential?
For a non-residential fee too?
No, we do not.
We do
It's
not.
just residential.
Just residential.
Something you should think about.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I just always assumed we did.
Yep.
So, thank you. The other thing, I just want to mention is that my understanding of New Jersey utility law, that if there's a water utility, whether it's private or public, puts a water line down the street, that there's mandatory hookup. So you should look at that, because I think it's my understanding it's mandatory. I mean, some people you don't have to hook up, but you still have to pay. Because it's done to amortize greatest, base for the utility, whether it's public or private. And then just one little personal note, someone who's lived in town for at least 5 years, Matt Arco, I know for a long time, since he was a public porter, passed away. It was sort of a shock. He lives up on Swan. and Franklin. He was a reporter for New Jersey Politicker and then for the Star Ledger for all years. You see a lot of his bylines, and he's did all his writing the last 4 years since COVID come home. But was 39 and wonderful person and friend. So, oh, he's also active with the ambulance squad.
Yeah, thank you. One of two unexpected and distressing deaths in the city this week.
Judy Gleason, 86 North Union Street. Just returning for a moment to where we are in terms of the scheduling, and we don't have a briefing schedule yet, but we will have and everything. I just like to have a standing request that I think I'm not the only one who thinks this, but if any information is received about this stuff, could it just go up online on the site? Because I think there's a lot of people interested in knowing what the court says, or what we hear, or what the schedule is, or who's on first, or whatever. So it could just be sort of a standard, nobody'd have to remember to ask, nobody'd have to. It seems like that would just be great to not have to rely on any social media or anything, so just, I'm making that request on behalf of, I'm sure I can get a few people to agree with me on that. Please just post anything when you get it. I don't think it'll be secret. If there's something that's secret, obviously you can't, but scheduling, I think you can, that would be great. Thank you.
Sure. We could take a look at sort of setting up some kind of, I don't know, billboard on the city. What do you say? I don't know. The email from the affordable housing attorney came in this afternoon about 4:30. So, you know, do my best to make sure that everything's, that is,
We have kind of a running page already that includes updates as they come, so we're trying, and we're on the same page.
Thank you.
So we'll make sure that things get posted there. Yeah, probably if, and I'm guilty, I haven't looked, but you know, whatever we can do to make it a prominent feature from the homepage so that people don't spend a lot of time drilling if it's not already that way. Yes, it's pretty good.
okay. Anybody online wish to have any comment? Have a motion to close the public comment period, please.
Moved.
Second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And once again, express gratitude for everyone coming out tonight. Appreciate it. It's always good to hear everybody and to see everybody. So may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.